Okay, so I'm going to follow up with what I was reading on here. Just because, like, seriously, people. Andre, can you just turn that down? Okay, because I just want to get this over with. Because when I look back, and, like, in my mind, right, thinking, I remember I started to read it, but honestly, you know, like in my past videos, right? Not that anyone can find it, because really I don't have my playlist in order, but besides that point. What do you call it? I honestly, I didn't read the whole thing because it's 25 pages. And once I start reading, and then it goes into a 2-hour video, right? So, like yesterday. Today is June 15th of 2023. But, you know, it's important to read it because the cops ignored it, people. These two kinds of cops. You got your street beat cops that come to the house and, you know, and do whatever they do, and okay? And then you have your investigators that are a different department, right? So this here went to the investigators who didn't show up until very late on the scene and really were very apathetic to the whole situation because our public union sector has got it on lockdown where if somebody dies from quote-unquote an overdose or whatever of whatever drug, right? Namely fentanyl. That's the big one. That's the big net that's bringing in lots of fish at one time. Which makes me think that they're processing these bodies for, I don't know if it's a food source for humans or if it's a food source for them. In terms of, there's something else that isn't of 100% human DNA. Okay? I'm sure some of it is going into illegal organ harvesting and implanted into people who can afford to buy organs because, you know, they live in big monster houses and, you know, they own multiple properties and they rent gouge and, you know, they exploit the poorest of the poor and the most vulnerable and they're rich, right? That's how they got rich and they want to stay rich, and now that they're rich, they want to be able to live an extra 5, 10, 15, 20 years for as long as they can. And so all they have to do is put in their freaking order and the network's already in place. And then the organ comes in and is being taken out in hospitals, people. They're not taking them out in butcher shops. I've said this before. Okay? This is a syndicate that we're dealing with here. And the government knows it. You see, that's the thing. The government knows it, just like they know that the elderly people, mainly in British Columbia, Canada, the Caucasians, namely, I don't know about other jurisdictions, but we got a lot of old white people out here, okay, that are being flushed out of their houses, sent to the hospital for whatever, you know, minor injury, maybe have a lung infection like Uncle John, maybe sprain their ankle, who knows. And once those workers, who are a majority of an immigrant working class of people, right, with a lot of them coming in from with work visas, okay, those old people, they don't get out. They get sent into the temporary care ward. They're held captive, right? And those people that are running the show do the wheeling and dealing, and then they forward them to the long-term care homes, and they put their properties up for sale so that the landlords can go in there and buy them up and, you know, run them to the ground, make people like me pay out of our noses as they run these houses basically to the fucking ground. Sorry, boo-boo ground. You know, right? So they can maximize on their dollar profit margin, and then they just tear down the houses, destroy everything in their wake, and build these buildings like I mentioned, I think in the last video. They're like 800 square feet, 2-bedroom, 800 square feet. You'll be lucky to get 1,000 square feet in a 2-bedroom stack and pack building with a little play area for the kids up on the roof with ornamental trees, to which they're just ornamental trees. In other words, they're not rooted into the ground. And that's their park, because they're wiping out the greenery in British Columbia, Canada. Okay? Basically, they're destroying everything. Everything, people. Except for where they live. In their community, in their smart community, oh, they got trees. They got peacocks running around. They got little parks. Right? It's genocide. but it's considered good business. That's right. Money buys morality. Yeah, okay. So anyway, somewhere in there, in that mix, maybe not all cops, but a whole lot of cops are involved. And the cops are employed by governments, whether it's federal government, provincial government, or municipal government, which makes them a public sector union service provider to serve and protect the public. Oh yeah, okay. No. They hung the public out to dry a long time ago. And that's why I'm going to read this. Okay, but I'm going to read it. I'm going to try not to talk too much. Okay, and we already know I'm jaded. And I have every right to be jaded. Because nothing's changing. Because whatever the government has created for itself, it loves it. Because it stimulates the economy. It guarantees those superannuation life insurance policies that Eleanor Gilding can come back in at a later date and steal. Because if you think that she started and stopped with John's, no. She was too fine-tuned to do what she did. In other words, she did it before, or she helped somebody else to do it, and it was just her turn to be rewarded. And that's why the government works hard in the court system to cover it up. Versus holding that bitch to account and firing her. Firing her. Yeah, and quite possibly putting her in jail for fraud under the Criminal Code of Canada. And there were other sections under the Criminal Code of Canada that she committed that deserve jail time. All right. Let's just stay focused. So, I was on page 3. Okay, you have to turn that down, because I'm going to try and just read.
I'm going to go get you. We're going to go outside, okay?
No. I need you to keep an eye on Amari so I can just do this, okay? I'm going for my eye surgery soon. Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen to me. Okay, I don't need to explain myself to you right now. If I go for this eye surgery...
Can I down when you're done?
Yes. No problem. I'm kind of concerned that I won't be able to see very well after the fact of the eye surgery, because I'm going to have complications and I'm going to be hooped. But I'm trying not to think like that. Okay. I'm trying to be really, 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 really brave here. Okay. All right. I don't know where I was reading. Let's just read for a bit. Okay, so we're going to start on page... Well, that's page 2. That's page 3. Let's go to 29 and see if I read that. It's not known whether Freddie... Okay, we read that. 31. Julian was seen by Judy standing by Shamay's window, right? Okay. We read that. Now we're going on to page 4. Because I remember started reading it, but I also think I remember that I never did finish it, because with me talking in between reading takes too long. But I think it should be just, you know, justice for Shamay. All right. 32. Page 4. 1 month prior to Shamay's death, Tisha ran into Sonia Johnson, okay, at the prenatal clinic. That's where that woman was working. And it was there that Sonia asked to see the baby. So this was 1 month before Shamay was murdered. Through the facilitation of Tisha, Shamay did take the baby to see Sonia, right, at her home, but would not return unless Julian was with her the next time, as she felt uncomfortable to go by herself. Okay, so she did take... You have to remember what happened when Shamay went there with the baby right after giving birth, with that woman just sitting on the couch watching her kids do what her kids did, right? So regardless, you know what I'm saying, okay? So she took the baby by herself. She obviously felt uncomfortable, right? And Sonia probably said, well, I'd like to see him again. But before that happened, like I told you, Shamay was bugging Julian to go with her to take the baby back, but he kept refusing, right? Because at the same time, she was asking him to fill out the paperwork for the federal government to put her name on the birth certificate, which he didn't want to do. Number 33, 2018. Julian tried to convince Shamay to co-parent. Oh yes, that's how Julian wormed his way in, right? In terms of establishing his place in the house, in terms of we're co-parenting and I get to visit the baby. So if I'm around, that's why. Okay. Okay, so anyway, Julian tried to convince Shamay to co-parent with him. However, he refused to take Shamay and the baby to visit with his mother when Shamay asked him to go because the mother wanted to see the baby again. So when I said in prior video that she was bugging Shamay, okay, Sonia was bugging Shamay to keep bringing the baby over. Why was she not bugging Julian? Why was she bugging Shamay? Why was she bugging Tisha? Why was she not bugging her own freaking son because her freaking son was living at her freaking house? Huh? I'd like to know. Because Tisha was going to the prenatal clinic, so she had no choice but to run into this woman because this woman was the fucking receptionist. That would be the first person you'd see when you'd go to the prenatal clinic. She was working right there somewhere by the front desk. Okay. Number 34, 2018. I'm having a problem with these glasses, as usual. Stupid shit. Okay, don't get mad. Let me try these ones. Like I said, I'll come back from this surgery and I won't be able to see nothing. This will be the last time I read anything. Okay. The only advantage that I have out of this whole situation with my eye being whatever they're going to do to it is my body heals pretty fast when I get cut or scratched or whatever. Like, for example, I cut my finger the other day when I was opening up a frickin' box. This one, right? And I sliced it deep. Like, that's amazing I didn't cut off, right? And within 2 days, it bled for a whole day. The second day, it was still kind of bleeding. That's how deep it was, right? And by the third day, and don't forget, I'm washing dishes and shit, so the Band-Aid's falling off, whatever. Okay, and then by the third day, it was getting pretty good, so I let it air out, and then everything was fine until I pinched myself with those clips as I was doing the paperwork. So within 3 days, my finger basically healed a very deep, 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 deep cut. So I'm like, okay, your eye will be the same way. You've got this magic touch with your body when it comes to healing itself, right? You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing that calms me down. If I thought my body didn't heal as fast as it did, then I'd be really worried about it. But I figure, well, I'll get through this, no problem. Right? If my finger can heal and everything else can heal real fast, my eye can do the same thing. So, I'm trying so hard not to worry about it. Okay. But just in case, this is worse. But just in case. So yeah, you know, Tisha's going to the clinic to go for her, see, maybe check up for herself, and Sonia's bugging her to have Shamay bring the baby. She relays the message over to Shamay. Shamay does it on her own. Obviously, she feels uncomfortable. She asks Julian to take her, right? And even then, right, she's still being badgered. Somehow, some way. What? Through phone? Text? Is that what Sonia was doing? I don't know. Right? Julian tried to... Okay, we read that. Within the first week of Julian starting... Okay, so let's just read that one back, number 33. Julian tried to convince Shamay to co-parent with him. However, he refused to take Shamay and the baby to visit with his mother when Shamay asked him to go because the mother wanted to see the baby again. 34, 2018. Within the first week of Julian starting to come around the house again. Okay? So Amari was born September 17th. Amari was born in September of 2017. Now we're going into 2018. So within the first week of Julian starting to come around the house again. So he hadn't been coming around to the house for a while, right? Because, he was trying to, like, let's co-parent. If, okay, we can't be together, then the least we can do is co-parent. Because Shamay wasn't trying to completely close the door on him, because we got pictures of her with him visiting the baby, right? Again, Judy recalls hearing an argument that woke her up from her sleep, where the phone was ringing and there was banging on the walls. And people, honest to God, I still think about this even to this day. I remember, like, oh my God, I was in the bedroom, and I heard it, and I jumped up, and I'm off the bed and I'm listening, right? Because the phone woke me up, and then I heard boom, 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 boom on the wall. And so, right? And I'm listening to see if maybe I should go run downstairs. Open my balcony, run down the stairs, unlock the door, run down the hall to go into Shamay's room to see what the fuck was going on. The only reason I didn't do it is because my son was down there. At least I thought he was. Because he was, he had his room down there, right? So I felt that if it was something really serious, people, my son would have heard it and would have intervened. Or if it was really serious, the banging or calling out or whatever would have continued, and that would have provoked me to not just hang off the bed and listen, wait for the next warning sound, and then react to it. But because it stopped as fast as it started, from what I could tell, and I didn't hear anything else after that, I didn't go down. And then when Shamay came up the next day, she never said anything to me about it, people. And I don't know, I forgot to ask, or I didn't want to ask, or what. Like, I just feel like I made a mistake. I feel like I should have just, fuck it, went downstairs to see what the fuck was going on. Because I do believe he did something to her that night. And if he did, which I do believe he did, it was so fast and sudden. For all I know, maybe he fucking choked her out and made her pass out. But, because Austin used to do that with Sierra, right? And that's why the banging on the wall was, because if somebody's on you, choking you, you're going to bang, right? Right? And if the phone is ringing, I'm sleeping in my bedroom down the hall, and then it stops ringing, and then I hear banging, right? What you're gonna get up and you're gonna listen, right? And then if you think your son's down there and it's gonna escalate, if you think it's gonna escalate, for sure at some point my son would have came up, because it got real quiet, and no sounds happened after that. To this day, I regret not going down. Yeah. And I don't know why I didn't ask her. because I felt that if it was real serious that she would have told me, and I didn't want to quote-unquote pry, right? You know what I mean? And she sort of looked fine when she came up. It wasn't like she looked bruised on the face, or, you know, she wasn't upset, you know, right? So I just let it go, people. But honest to God, I think he did something to her that night. I really do. Why would somebody be banging on the wall after trying to phone on the cell phone, or on my phone, and then just suddenly become quiet? Something happened, and she didn't tell me because she was probably embarrassed, or maybe she was afraid. For all we know, he was probably threatening to kill my whole fucking family if she said anything about it, because he was already doing those fucking shenanigans once she got pregnant and he got secure with that thought. Right under your nose. Right under, this shit happens right under your nose. Within the first week of Julian starting to come to around the house, again, Judy recalls hearing an argument, so they must have been arguing to some degree, that woke her up from her sleep. Or I just assumed it was an argument. I don't know. Because I was sleeping, obviously. Where the phone was ringing. And it just ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. And then I heard the banging, and the banging, that's what really got me out of the bed. And then I hung over the bed to try and get closer to the vent to listen, right? But then it became completely silent. And because my son was down there, I thought, okay, everything fine. I didn't even know Julian was down there. Ringing, and there was banging on the wall with loud voices. Oh, I guess there was loud voices in the background. I don't remember the loud voices, but that wouldn't be the first time where they'd be right? Because we went through that shit with Sierra and Austin. It was almost like Shamay recreated the wheel with her relationship that she's seen Sierra and Austin have. That part I couldn't figure out. Right? But oftentimes men come into your life sweet as pie. And then over a period of years or whatever, that's when their true colors come out. And they come out when you least expect it. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you're getting the shit beat out of you, and you don't even know why. Yeah. And you've already been in the relationship for quite a long time. And then once that starts, it doesn't stop. It just gets worse and worse and worse. Yeah. And the more you can leave that, the better off you'll be. Shamay left it, but these people were fucking stalking her. Okay? They were stalking her even before she met them. Alright. Anyway. However, because it got real quiet very quickly, yeah. So whatever happened was fast, it woke me up, and then it got quiet really fast, really quickly. And if you remember, if you notice, I didn't remember the voices until I read it. This is why I did this. All right. Because it got real quiet very quickly, which made me think of my son down there. That somehow maybe he took control of the situation and everything was fine, right? But who knows? Judy did not go downstairs to investigate to see what had happened. Shamay made no mention of it the next day. She came upstairs. I was hoping she'd say something about it. She didn't. I thought I'd just leave it for a bit, and then I must have slipped my mind and forgot about it, and I never asked her where I should have asked her. Not that I would necessarily get the full truth and nothing but the truth, depending on what he was threatening her with. Who knows? Who knows, people? Who knows? Clearly it was Julian and Shamay having an argument, and it was not Julian banging on the fucking wall. It wasn't Julian calling my phone. It was Shamay. And my son probably slept through it all. Or Corey ignored it because the arguing had been going on for so long that he just put the pillow on his head and said, fuck it, I'm not dealing with it. Right? Because there was other times he'd have to go outside running around the fucking yard on patrol to be ready to battle Julian, as Julian was telling Shamay that he was coming here to blow up the house. So my son would go outside and fucking patrol the yard and would be there to intervene him before that happened. Okay? So it's not like my son wanted to get involved. But whatever happened, if it would have continued to happen and escalate and gotten really loud and obnoxious, for sure my son would have fucking stepped in and did something. Okay? I'm just saying. It was very quick. Or at least it felt that way to me because I was sleeping. Right? It was the phone that woke me up, and then I heard the banging. I don't remember the voices, but obviously there was voices because I wrote it down. And then it just stopped. It just stopped. Completely stopped. Which makes me think he did something. He was probably choking the shit out of her. And she probably passed out, and that's why it stopped. Why else would it just stop? (35) 2018, 2 days before her death. 2 days before her death. So this is all in the time right before she died, right? Within a week of Julian starting to come around to the house again. So within that week, right? You know, because he was at the window, remember? 12:30 at night. What are you here? Go away. Oh no, Shamay asked me to come by. What, at 12:30? Oh, yeah, no. No, because they were plotting and scheming how to fucking kill her, people. I'm telling you. Cops don't care. 2 days before her death, on April 11th, so on April 11th was when she died, Shamay told her mother that Julian was bugging her to move out and get an apartment for them. So he never did give up on that, right? Even though she wasn't with him, didn't want to be with him, had already slept with Freddie, was going to go to college, was going to go to freaking, Tacoma to go hang out with her dad for a while, maybe even quite possibly move over there and go to school over there, if it worked out fine with her dad, right? And he's still bugging her to move in with him. Yeah, okay. With, of course, everything in Shamay's name. Yeah, okay. Shamay told Judy that she reminded Julian that he did not have a legitimate job and that his lifestyle was not one that she wanted for her baby or herself. Okay? This was 2 days before she was murdered. 4 days before Shamay died. 36, April 7th of 2018. Shamay went to a baby shower. Here it's blank because there were African families when I used to work, and I used to live at Gateway Place, right? Those apartment buildings, and you've seen the videos, right? Where I'd be out in the courtyard with 40 to 60 kids and, did little DJ stuff, and a lot of those families, they came from Africa, places like Darfur, from refugee camps in Tanzania, and places like that. Like literally hundreds of thousands sitting in a tent, blaring under the sun, getting a jug of milk once a week that was sour, and that's how they lived until they got refugee status to come to Canada, and then the Canadian government placed them there. And when I moved in there, well, that's who I was working with, and it was families from places like Sudan and places like that, Lebanon, right? So the kids, they grew up with these African families, and so they were having an African family marriage, right? So we have pictures, we have video of her holding the babies at the party, right? From the Africans marrying each other. Okay, I just didn't know the exact group, because there's more than one group. Because there was more than one family that lived in those apartment buildings, right? So on April 7th, she went to a baby shower with the Africans. On April 8th, Shamay went to a family gathering with an old friend, which were Africans from Tanzania, right? The ones that got one jug of sour milk once a week as they sat under the sun waiting to get refugee status to come to Canada, right? We call them the Chiza family. Okay? And then April 9th, Shamay and Amari were upstairs. Okay, so on April 7th, which is a Saturday, I'm pretty sure. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, yeah. On April 7th, now, when I wrote this, I couldn't access anything of Shamay's social media accounts. Her phone, so there's missing stuff here. Okay? Now, right? I mean, I've had years to work on this, okay? So I wouldn't have known this information at this time because this was going to the investigators. Okay? And I wouldn't have known this outside of what I was told, either from Shamay or maybe from Tisha or whatever. Where it's confirmed, and this should be updated, is when Julian killed Shamay, he cleaned up, he changed her clothes, he staged her body, and he took her phone when he left. So when Tisha got back from the hospital and she was with Paige, I mean, she was looking for the phone before she just... The point is on the day that Shamay died, was murdered, Paige and Tisha tore Shamay's room apart, basically, and tried to find Shamay's phone. In short, it disappeared because Julian had taken it. And through that process, who knows what he did with it, because it was probably, she probably was on her phone. I do believe he came up he either did it from the front or from the back. I do believe he hit her on the head. It would be on this side. It was on the right side because she has that bruise that comes through the exposure, to which I didn't get those pictures until 6 months after she was dead. So I didn't learn that information until 6 months after she was dead. Okay? Even though I asked the hospital staff and the police if she got hit. I asked for an autopsy to see if she got hit. They all said no. Maybe that bruise was an old bruise from the night a week prior. It could have been, and maybe she masked it up because women do that. They get hits, they get bruises, they cover it up so the people around them don't notice. Who knows, okay? Or he hit her that morning when she was in the living room because she did her Snapchat. She was smoking a cigarette. That's where the medical fentanyl was, people. That was the only way for it to get into her system. She was tired because she was up all night with the baby because of the cold. Like, I sent her down from up here at about 1:30, and she decided to stay up because he was fussy, right? She did a Snapchat, right? I have all that, but you see, I didn't get any of that information until like months later as I was going through her paperwork. And then because she changed her password, right? And we couldn't figure out her password, right, to get into anything. And then, months and months later, I was going through all her paperwork, and there was like, numbers written down or whatever it was, and I'm thinking, maybe this is a password. So, I signed on to a couple of things, right? And sure enough, it was her new password. But I couldn't access her Facebook account because somebody had locked it up. Somebody had locked it up. And when I tried to contact Facebook, they wouldn't let me do anything. And I asked the cops to get into her Facebook, right? Because, right, the phone disappeared for 24 hours. So when Julian came back the next day to get the baby, that was the excuse to come back to the house, because he thought that I would just automatically give him the baby because he was the father by default and he demanded to take the baby. So his mother brought him because she was involved with this, people. And instead he got served with papers because of my experience with what happened with Andre. So I was quick to react on that one, right? And then he started pleading with Tisha in the garage that he at least wanted to see the baby for 5 minutes. And to please go ask me to bring him, like, if he can see him for 5 minutes before he leaves. It's because he had an ulterior motive. It's not what he wanted, people. He had some Shamay's cell phone in his pocket. And he had to put it back in the house because it disappeared. Because Shamay and Tisha tore everything apart looking for this cell phone. Looked all over in the living room, couldn't find it. Looked all over in Shamay's room, couldn't find it. Everywhere. It was gone. Even though she was doing Snapchats right before all this shit happened. Okay? So Tisha comes upstairs. Oh, please, Mom, you know, he's crying, he's begging, you know, just let me take the baby down for 5 minutes. And I'm like, and I'm like, oh, okay, so go. So she takes the baby downstairs. This is all a matter of 5 fucking minutes or whatever it is. And he's gone. He's gone, people. Him and his mother are gone. And not only are they gone, but the minute that Tisha came upstairs, he went inside the house. Mark Kane caught him. Mark Kane said, what do you want? Why are you in here? Well, I'm here to get my stuff. Well, it's right there in the laundry. Well, I need to go into Shamay's room and do something. Oh, my son's completely oblivious to everything, right? Whatever. So Julian runs off down there because he's saying his stuff is in there. Like his clothes or something. Because I guess he brought he brought a duffel bag. But duffel bag had already been packed and put in the laundry room. So no, he didn't go in there to get his stuff. He went in there to put the cell phone back, and he took the fucking TV that's been sitting there for 2 freaking years, seriously, and ran off, put the TV in his mother's vehicle, and they both drove off. He came here to put the phone back in Shamay's bedroom, and while he was in there, he decided to take the TV. Because by the time Tisha came down with the baby, being that he was crying on about wanting to see his son, he was gone. Okay, so all of a sudden, there's the phone. Who found it? I don't know. All I know is it was amazing that, well, we looked there before. It wasn't there before. Like, where did it, oh, now we know what happened. He came in and he put it in the bedroom. That's why he sent Tisha upstairs, so he could run in there and do that. Yeah. But we didn't know the password. We didn't know the password any more than we knew any other password, because Shamay had changed her password recently, right? So when the cops came, these ones, we gave them the phone thinking, well, they got technology, they know what to do, right? They can do anything with these cell phones. Yeah. Well, you know what the motherfuckers did? They came back and they said they couldn't access the phone because the port was broken. It was a brand new freaking phone, people. The port was broken. Yeah, okay, the port was broken. No, they covered up murder, people. That's what they did. Okay? So now I have the cell phone that turns on, but we can't access it because we don't know the password, right? And I put it over there, right? But, you know, it got stolen. Either one of my neighbor's little, you know, her daughter was here visiting with Andre. She either stole the phone, or Sierra came in, caught an eye of it, and stole it and took off with it. Okay? So, eventually, though, going through Shamay's papers, I came across a bunch of whatever, and I thought, you know, my gut, right? I said, just try this and see if it works. And it did. That was her password. But I couldn't access Facebook because they locked me out because she had died. And I didn't have whatever fucking, I don't know what they have there, that if you die, you know, somebody can come and access. I didn't have that, so they just kept me locked out, right? And the cops never investigated what happened to Shamay because they didn't care. They got what they wanted. Ching, 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 ching. Right? You know, they got their bonuses on their checks. Ching, 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 ching. So they didn't give a shit. Right? So I do believe that Shamay was on the phone at the time. He either came up and hit her on the head, and then I go with Truth for Reality's assessment. He shot her up with a speedball. That's where the cocaine and the morphine come in. After they kind of subdued her with the medical fentanyl for the last couple of days, because once I got, you see this, do you see? I haven't even finished this page yet. Once I ended up getting the password, but it took months, right? And it was just by chance. And that little birdie, come on, try it. If I would have had the cell phone, it would have worked for the cell phone, but somebody stole the cell phone. Go figure. But I got into Snapchat. I got into her YouTube channel. A couple of emails. That's about it. And, but through the Snapchat and Google Drive, I think it's called, through YouTube. What's important about August 7th, see, it's not listed here. Because I wouldn't have known. I didn't know until I got into the Snapchats and the Google Drive. And that wasn't months later until I finally figured out the password. And that was only by the grace of God that came to me. Right? I mean, I got a big stack of paper like this, of bills and this and that and Julian shit, and I'm sorting everything out, and I scribble this and scribble that, and then I see something and I'm like, well, that could be a password. Yeah, I think I'm going to try it. And it worked. So by doing that, I have pictures and video of Shamay at Julian's mother's house on April 7th, before she went to the baby shower. She went to Julian's mother's house on her own because she was a good person and didn't want to isolate Sonia and make her feel like that she was, you know, an unimportant grandmother. And being that Julian wasn't willing to take Shamay, Shamay broke down and wanted to be nice and give Sonia a chance to bond with Amari. So she took Amari on her own again, because it's in her Snapchat. And then she went to the baby shower. So that's not written down here, because I wouldn't have known that at that time. Julian was not in the pictures. Julian was not there. Just Amari, Shamay, and Sonia, with Tamika Johnson running around in the background, probably saying, "Can I have a smoke?" "Yeah, sure, you can have a smoke." "Well, here, I'll just grab the smokes and I'll bring you back your pack when I finish my smoke." And then she laced her smokes, and then she came back and gave them to Shamay, and Shamay left. And then by the next day and a half or so later, Shamay was starting to get real sick with the shit, where she'd like be dizzy. She'd get up and she'd be like dizzy. She'd pass out. She felt nauseated. What's the matter with me, Mom? I said, "Well, I don't know. Maybe you got the flu." Like, what else? What, right? "What have you been doing?" "Oh, I went to this baby shower. I went to a wedding," or whatever it was with all the African families. She did not tell me that she went to Sonia's. But the Snapchat does. That's how I know. And if I would never have found that password out of that big pile of paper, I would never have known that. But I was meant to know that, you see? I was meant to know that. But if the cops would have done their fucking job, they would have found that information. And they would have gotten into Shamay's Facebook ASAP. And they would have realized that a whole lot of shit would have been fucking deleted in between texting or whatever. But they didn't want to solve murder, people. As a matter of fact, they facilitate it. They encourage it to happen. And they cover it up. And that's why I do these videos. Don't be so gullible to think that they were depressed. They just decided to snort a little coke at 8 o'clock in the morning and kill themselves because they were feeling fucking suicidal and thought that was the best way to do it. Or, sorry, you can't handle that, so we're just 6'4" fucking cops gonna come in here and tell you that it was a fucking accident and you'd suck it up, Buttercup. Yeah, well, you motherfucker can suck it up, Buttercup, too. You reap what you sow. Why people respect the police, I'll never understand. Because they're gullible. That's why. Or they're criminals. Of criminal mind. That is what my life has taught me. So that's why it's not written down. Because the cops covered it up. And they broke the port on Shamay's phone if it wasn't Julian himself. And even if they broke, even if it was fucking Julian that broke the port, I do not believe that the cops could not have accessed that phone by one means or another. It was just a bunch of hokey-dokey bullshit crap. Yeah. To cover it up. Or they could have investigated her Facebook. Or any other fucking website she was on. That's not what they wanted to do, though. They wanted to ensure that there would be multiple Shamays falling in line under their assembly of dead bodies. That's what they want to fucking ensure. Okay, so now that we got that over with. So there's important information in here that the police should have filled in themselves, but they didn't. April 8th, Shamay went to a family gathering with old friends. She was still feeling somewhat okay. Still, right? Because they didn't lace her smokes didn't get laced until April 7th. Right? But by Monday, oh my God, she was here, people. She was sitting right here in this chair on this computer doing all her paperwork for college. She was dealing with social services who wanted to cut her off of social services because she was going to go to college to be a nurse's assistant at $24 an hour, right? And because she got a student loan to pay for that, and yeah, basically, they cut her off of fucking social services. And she got all, whoa, and I said, don't worry about it, because we got lots of food in the house. All you have to do is just put the application back in and discuss it with a social worker. And if they don't want to fucking help you, so be it. You still go to school, because you're never going to go fucking hungry in this house. And you borrowed your $500 a month to cover the rent for the whole time that you were going to go to school. So you take that lump sum and you give it to Mrs. Gill so that your part of the rent is fucking covered. And anything else, I'll make sure that you get it. If it wasn't her dad going to make sure that she got it. Okay? So fuck social services. They weren't going to stop her from going to college. So she did all her college work sitting here at this freaking chair. She did all her fucking social services shit sitting in this fucking chair. And she was getting sick, sick, sick. Because her smokes were laced with medical fentanyl. But we thought it was just a cold or a flu coming on. Which is why I don't like to read this. Because I get mad. April 9th. Shamay and Amari were upstairs all day and night. Yeah, she didn't want to go downstairs. I didn't realize that Julian was fucking stalking her, people, and she was trying to fucking avoid him. I mean, I knew he was around scratching at 12:30 at night on the window and shit like that, but I didn't know that he was picking up the pace again. You know? He'd go away for a while, everything would calm down, and then all of a sudden he'd start up again. Obviously, she was avoiding him because she didn't want to go downstairs. So I'd let her hang up here, right? All night, okay, all day and night between the hours of 9:30 a.m. and 1:30 a.m. So by 1:30 in the morning, I'm like, well, maybe you should go downstairs, right? I'll see you in the morning. Like, I need to go to sleep, right? Sleeping on the couch. Andre was sleeping on the bed. Never even dawned on me. I should have just sent her to the fucking bed with Andre. Until 1:30 a.m. the following morning, as she worked online, getting all her paperwork ready for school. In addition to, she organized her information to forward to the Ministry of Social Development and Social Innovations to see if she would qualify for social assistance while going to college, because she was being told that she was being cut off of fucking welfare. Doesn't that sound familiar? You just cut off welfare. Get the fuck out of here with your fucking half-breed kid. Go out in the fucking streets in the middle of the fucking snow, and when you figure it out 15 years later, after we practically destroyed your life because of it, and you come back and you try and fucking sue us, all we have to say is, nah, statute of limitation. You should have came to us the day we kicked you out in the fucking snow. That's when you should have sued us. Like when they cut me off of welfare in 2003 with 5 dependent children and a blind man in the middle of winter. Just like that. Under legislation that wasn't even in effect. And not only was it not even in effect, it wasn't even fucking legitimate. But there's statute of limitations, so therefore that covers the government's ass. Well, it seems to me like they were playing the same fucking game with Shamay. Boo-boo game. Okay. Told that she was being cut off of welfare for going to school. Shamay, and she was, people, because she was here writing letters to the social services and sending them emails to make an appointment to put another application in for them to review it as she was getting her other paperwork ready for college. Because it got approved. She was transferring the money that was from the student loan into the bank to pay the fucking college and to make sure that at least her rent was covered with Mrs. Gill. She had all her priorities in order, people, as she was hiding upstairs in my house as Julian was lurking my fucking yard with the mother going, oh, it won't be long before I get the baby. It won't be long. It won't be long. No. Silent as a church mouse. Yeah, more like a gutter rat. A fucking gutter rat. I'm just saying. Would qualify for social assistance while going to college because she was being told that she was being cut off of welfare for going to school. Shamay also got her paperwork ready for child care subsidy, yeah, because I was going to do the child care for her, right? And was making plans to get her passport, yep, processed so that she could go with her sister, I guess Tisha was going to go too, if I remember correctly, yep, to visit her father in Tacoma in the month of May. Shamay mentioned that she wasn't feeling well and rested on the couch throughout the day and night in between doing her paperwork. Yeah, she'd sit here, she'd have a smoke. After her smoke, she'd get up and she'd go, whoa, I'm dizzy, Mom. What's the matter with me? I'm like, I don't know, Shamay. Go lay down and rest. Right? You're working too hard. Oh, you don't see it coming, people. Nobody in their right mind would know that somebody is poisoning your fucking food with arsenic until you're fucking dead. Well, it's the same stupid shit with fentanyl. And the cops know it. And they allow it to happen because the government condones it. Because they're profiteering off of it. And people are gullible. It takes something like this to make you wake up and realize, don't be so gullible. Fool me once, fool me twice. Right? How many times does the public have to be fooled? And for the ones that accept it and promote it, they're the ones that are capitalizing off of it. Just go to your smart city where all the fucking trees are and the big monster houses are. Those are the ones that are capitalizing off of it, people. Those children that are going to be playing on top of these roofs with these stack and pack, don't even fucking call them condos, with these little stack and pack boxes that they're building with plastic pipes and cheap this and cheap that and cheap, with their little park up on the roof because they wiped out everything green in the fucking neighborhood. Those kids are going to be the next generation of Shamays. Well, those landlords that own those little fucking stack and pack boxes take advantage of the situation. They're just setting the stage for the next generation of Shamays. So they could be rich. Have a few extra years to live longer. So they can drive around town bragging about how fucking rich they are and how moral they are. Yeah, okay. I'll show you morality. Right here. Here's your fucking morality. Because you know it was a Punjabi that got my daughter's heart. You know that, people. I'm still on page 4 for crying out loud. And my son's girlfriend, she knows I do videos, right? But she doesn't understand a person like me. Because she's young, you know? Oh, I know, she's university educated, so somehow she's so much smarter than me. But just because you're fucking book smart doesn't mean you got fucking street smarts or life experiences that, you know. I'm just saying, right? She's probably sitting there, why is that woman in there yelling into a camera again? She doesn't like me. Whatever. Anyway, I don't care. Okay, Shamay also got her paperwork ready for child care subsidy and was making plans to get her passport processed, read that, and could go with her sister to visit her father in Tacoma in the month of May. Shamay mentioned that she wasn't feeling well and rested okay on the couch because I told her, like she said, she'd sit here, she'd have a smoke, she'd get up, woo, I said, go lay down. Off and on, all fucking day. Okay? But she managed to do all her paperwork. She managed to do everything that she needed to do. And then the next day, Tuesday, she had to go out and do the legwork around it. Okay? So now, April 10th. Okay? Shamay came upstairs with Amari at 9:30 a.m. because she wanted to start early. Right? And I'm like, okay. Right? And she had plans to go out early to physically drop off or fax any paperwork that she had put together the previous day. Both Judy and Tisha watched Amari for Shamay while she was gone for several hours doing what she needed to do before school was to start on April 23rd, people. Within 13 days, people. Because you have to remember, her student loan had already been approved, people. 2018. When Shamay got back home, she stayed upstairs again because she was avoiding Julian. Only she didn't tell me, people. She didn't tell me. And she didn't tell me how, I don't want to say severe she was feeling in terms of quote unquote with the nausea and the dizziness and all that, like, because it was off and on. It wasn't straight through. It's like, you know, when you get a flu and you feel sick for like 24 hours, or right, and it just stays kind of like that, and you feel awful. It wasn't like that. It was going up and down, up and down, up and down, and that's because she was smoking the smoked people with the medical fentanyl. It was like a hit, right? And then, you know, 3 hours later, she'd level out and was able to do what she needed to do, finished doing what she was doing, went off and had a smoke, and the big wave would come again. But we never associated it to that, though, people. Because who would think that somebody would try and poison your cigarettes as they were plotting and scheming how they were going to come off and finish you off in another day or two? Right? Nobody. You're not prepared to think like that. But my dream prepared me to have her die. Like I told you, my dream told me she was dead. And I was in denial. And I didn't want to believe it. But it happened. Pretty much to the T, the way it happened. Right? But it made me stronger. To be able to follow through on what I do. Whether it's fighting for justice, educating people about what's in the real world, what walks amongst us when it comes to the big bad wolf, the wolf in sheep's clothing, that kind of thing. Don't be so gullible. Here's why. Don't ever think it won't happen to you unless, of course, you are one of them that have criminal of mind. Then, yeah, for sure, you're going to participate in it. But if you're not participating in this kind of fucking activity that harvests human beings like cattle, then you're always going to be subject to be a victim to it. And the sooner you realize that and wake up to that fucking fact, you might be able to protect your family from it. But you can't be gullible. You see, that's the thing. You can't be naive to the fact of the evil that's around you. And who props up that evil and for what purpose? When it comes to a government that facilitates it. Oh, what have I done? Yeah, I went too fast. Okay. See, this video is too long now. When Shamay got back home, she stayed upstairs again until about 1:30 in the a.m. because I said I need to get some sleep. I was sleeping on the couch, people, and I probably could have sent her to the bedroom, and she could have slept with Andre on the bed. But, you know, and I mean, like, you know, like I said, it wasn't like she was, like, really whacked out with, like, a 24-hour flu where you can't move. Because clearly she was doing things. It's just whatever she had was coming in waves, okay? And so I said, you go downstairs. It's 1:30 in the morning. You know, we've been running around since 9:30 this morning, right? You know, and if you really need me, you can call me, right? Because I didn't want to coddle her, right? It was Amari's first real cold. But it's okay. You know, every mom has to go through it, right? You're still functional. Marcane's downstairs if you need him. I'm upstairs, right? You know, just call me if you really need me. Other than that, suck it up, Buttercup, and, you know, be the mom. Be the best mom that you can be, right? I need to lay down, get some sleep. So I lay down on the couch after she left, but I woke up by 5:30 in the morning. I didn't even sleep for very long, people, because I was hardwired with... Who knows? All I know is I got up at 5:30 in the morning and I did a freaking video. I sat here at 5:30 in the morning. I didn't even sleep that long. And then I had to go into the bedroom and that's where I was converting the video over. So by that time it's 6:30 in the morning. And then, you know, back and forth converting. And then by 7 in the morning, I hear Shamay, which is right below the bedroom that I'm in Tisha's room, singing to Amari. And I'm like, okay, well, that sounds fine. And I know that Marcane can get up anywhere between 5 and 6 in the morning. So I know Mark Haines running around down there, getting ready to go to work. So if Shamay was really that ill, her brother was down there, right? So it's not like I sent her away with no options, right? I just wanted, I didn't want to call her people. I didn't, right? And so anyway, by 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm now in the bedroom finishing up with this video that I'm converting over. And I hear her singing to Amari in Tisha's room. I didn't go downstairs to ask why. I just heard her. And then coming back to get the video, to put it on a flash drive, to bring it here to upload, I now hear Tisha and Shamay talking in Tisha's bedroom. Everything sounded fine to me, people. I didn't even know Julian was here. I didn't learn about Julian coming here at 6:30 in the morning until Shamay had her Snapchat. Until I could access her Snapchat. If the cops would have done their job when they had the chance to do their job, they would have seen that for themselves, people. But they didn't want to see it. That's why we have fentanyl killing tens of thousands of people across the continent between Canada and the United States. I can't really speak for Mexico, but I would assume it's happening in Mexico too. It's because it's being facilitated by the government and the fucking dirty cops. Okay? I'm telling you. For them to be as negligent and to simply pass it off, it was suicide or an accident just so that it can continue without them doing their fucking job, tells you it's done with intent. Okay? It's done with intent. And the only people that intend to fucking cull the population and benefit from the proceeds that come from that is the public union sector and their partner groups, whether it's connected to organized religion or through some other type of organization. All together freaking organized. It is. It is. Don't be gullible. If a loved one comes and dies in your household, and the dirty cops come and say some stupid shit to you, stand there and say, motherfucker, I don't believe you. I want an investigation. And then you fight for that investigation. And if you don't get that fucking investigation, there is no statute of limitation on murder, and you go fight, and you hold your government to account. And I don't care where the hell you live. If you live in the States, you do it there. If you live in Canada, you do it here. If you're somewhere else, you do it there. Okay? That's the only way we're going to be able to turn the tide on this. Otherwise, these bastards are going to keep coming back with the same old okie dokie. Yeah. Yeah. As tens of thousands of people continue to be murdered. So these bastards can profiteer off of their bodies. And when they come back with an urn saying that's your loved one's ashes, don't believe it. Don't fucking believe it. You're dealing with some seriously morbid people here, okay? Well, sorry. Seriously morbid individuals. Don't even classify them as people. They're beyond being fucking human. Okay? Serious. It's not just money that fuels this shit. Okay? It's something else. Anyway. I'm gonna end this video. I only read one page. Whoop-de-doo. But if I wouldn't have told you the story about the cell phone and about how I found the password months later and how I connected the dots where it's not written down here, you wouldn't have known. But if the cops would have done their job, they would have written it down. Because they would have accessed her Snapchat. They would have accessed the freaking Facebook and anything else through that cell phone. Right? They would have went to Sonia's house and questioned Sonia. But you see, they don't want to do that, though, because Sonia works for the prenatal clinic. And the prenatal clinic is one of those facilities, just like with the medical facilities in terms of these medical clinics, that I do believe target medical files for this kind of shit. That's why Sonia is so, not abstract, but I don't know, like a cloaked ghoul or something, think of like old English, in England when they had like when Jack the Ripper was around, right? And they used to run around with the hat and the long cloaks in the shadows of the burrows, right? Where, right? And you'd see a shadow run by. That's Sonia. That's Julian's and Tamika's mother. She's cloaked with this dark energy that likes to shadow herself around. That's the energy that I get from her. Yeah. That's why her kids do what they do. And do what they did. Because if you notice, she's in the picture. Literally, she's in the picture on April 7th. Right. But, she's driving up, bringing her son here to see the baby, or to get the baby, when in fact she knew that her son had Shamay's phone. She knew it, people. She knew. That's why she was quick to run off with the TV and him. Mm-hmm. She got what she wanted. She just had to fake the funk with the car accident, and she got a big buyout. Because that's what they do. Shut her up. And boy, oh boy, did she ever shut up. Not a fucking peep out of her about the whole situation, other than, I'm the one that's in the wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about. Her children are godly and would never do such a thing. Yeah, okay. No, she runs around in the shadows with a big fucking cloak on, with a big hat in the dark. That's what she does. Because she's afraid of the light. Yeah. But I have it documented. Shamay was there at her house on the 7th, all by herself, without Julian. And that's where Shamay's smokes were laced. Because I was here with the aftermath of it. But we didn't know. So until about 1:30 a.m. again, until finally Judy asked her to go back downstairs so she could go to sleep for a while. Shamay again mentioned throughout the day that she was not feeling well, and she rested on the couch as she had done on Monday, as well as also rested in Andre's room. So she did go to Andre's room. And I think, because this is long, I think I should stop the video, upload it, and carry on. And we're only on page 5. Otherwise it's going to drag out for another hour. And I mean, right, just what I told you is, it's the truth, people. The cops are selling us out to something that's evil, if they themselves are not evil. Okay? They tried to make it sound like they were so busy with all these fentanyl deaths that they didn't really have much time to investigate Shamay's death, outside of to come back and say it was a suicide. And then when Tisha and I challenged them on it, they just switched it over to the next default and said, oh, it was an accident. Oh, well, suck it up, Buttercup. We're going on to the next case. It was that cut and dry, okay? It was that cut and dry. And they expected us to be gullible like everybody else. Yeah, yeah, okay. Gullible like everybody else. Anyway, I will maybe just switch this over and try it again. I'll convert this over, I'll upload it, and then when I'm in the mood to try and read without too much of yappity yap, but it's like, you know, I filled in a big gap in there, right? But the cops didn't do their job. It was either Julian that broke the port on Shamay's phone, or it was the freaking dirty cops that broke the port. Or maybe the port was never broken, they just knew that we didn't have the password. And by the time I found the password, people, somebody had stole the fucking phone. Because I put it underneath my turntable, and it was just kind of like there, right? But somebody walked by and they noticed it, and they grabbed it. It was either that neighbor's girl, or it was Sierra when she came in. Right? Because Sierra would come and go every now and then, right? I don't know who stole it, I just know it's gone. But it was the cops' responsibility to investigate. And they didn't want to, because they're covering up murder. So I will upload this now, and then we'll start again on another video before I might go completely blind. Because I do believe I was set up for this, people. Too convenient for my family doctor to say, fuck off, don't come back, take me to court. Okay. Right? Too convenient to not be able to get a, you know, to go see like an eye clinic, right? To get a referral, because you, right? You maybe go to an eye clinic and you can maybe get a referral, but you know, COVID was around and everybody was on lockdown and nobody was seeing anybody, and you couldn't make an appointment. They weren't answering their phone. They wouldn't call you back. Time was ticking. I completely forgot about it, people. It's not like I didn't phone, and even when I did phone and finally did get an appointment, it was already too late, and even then, they didn't frickin' put the referral in, and it took 7 months before I finally got a phone call from a referral, but by that time I'd already gone to the hospital, right, the Royal Columbian, for emergency to get a referral, to which now I'm being told that you know, who knows? Who knows, people? If I get an infection in my eye, I'm fucking hooped. I don't know what this doctor's doing. It's not just simply replacing the cataract. I can barely see out of this eye. Barely see. This is the one he's operating on. The only thing that's going good in my favor is I heal fast. That's it. I get bruised up on my legs when I'm working in the yard. They go away within a few days. I cut myself like this. It's pretty good. Right? This one was really deep. I almost sliced off part of my finger. I was like, holy shit. It wouldn't stop bleeding for a bloody day. And then 3 days later, it was okay. Yeah. I'm going to take off the Band-Aid now. The next 2 days, it will be fine. That's the only thing that's making me feel safe. Is my body. Not the doctor, but me. My ability to heal. Yeah. Octave nerves, though, are different. You can't heal those things. Once it's like chopping off a finger. You got 5 fingers. Chop, 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 chop. Once they're gone, you can't get them back. That's what octave nerves are. That's why I can never get my eyesight back. Because those octave nerves are gone. And I've only got 2 left in this eye. And maybe 13, but since this eye doctor's been poking around, I put it probably at about 10 or 11. So, who knows?